This week's recipe demo is
Mexican casserole. You guys should make this recipe tonight. It is awesome. Super easy, tastes amazing. I think we should get started.
Let's get started, but first, make sure you preheat your oven.
So the first thing that you guys are going to need is you're going to need some tomato sauce because we're going to make kind of like an enchilada Mexican inspired sauce for the casserole. So normally I would use tomato sauce, but we forgot to get it at the store. It happens.
Happens.
And so then we had to go to a different store, which they didn't have organic tomato sauce, which is crazy.
Kind of a problem. I told them they'll have it next week.
So we're going to use tomato paste, which will work fine in a pinch. So we're going to scoop the tomato paste into the bowl, and you guys have the exact measurements in this week's recipes under Mexican casserole.
So this is our tomato sauce substitute.
Uh-huh. And it's thick, right?
So because we're using tomato paste, it looks like Sarah's got a little bit of water over there. We're going to water it down.
Yep. I'll call Pete. Alright. So we're just going to do a little mix. Be careful not to get it on your clothes. It's never good. But we are going to add stuff to this to make it more Mexican inspired. So we're going to add, how fitting, this Mexican blend seasoning with no sea salt. And we actually got this probably a few months ago. We don't usually buy this, but we've been digging it. And I would tell you all the ingredients, but one of the main ingredients is organic spices. So it does.
That's kind of a joke.
It does have onion, and it does have garlic, and it does have lemon peel. I would assume that it probably has a little cumin and some chili powder. So use whatever Mexican seasoning blend you have or you like. So I'm going to pour some of this in here and give that a little stir. We like our things really flavorful and I don't know, just very fragrant in flavor. So if you have kids who don't like a lot of flavor, you could always use a little bit less of the seasoning. And then secret ingredient for Mexican dishes or enchiladas is a little cinnamon. Cinnamon and Mexican go really well together.
My dad used to put just a little bit of cinnamon in our enchiladas, and it was amazing. It was always like his secret ingredient. We'd have people over, and they'd never had it before. And he'd be like, "Do you taste that? Do you taste that?" Trying to do like guessing game with him, and he was just like so proud of that cinnamon.
I mean,
it's like a family legacy.
I have to admit, those enchiladas were pretty good.
They were pretty good.
Alright, so now I'm adding some nutritional yeast, which will give it that cheesy flavor. And you could skip this if you don't have it.
Skip it.
It's not completely necessary. It won't make or break the dish, but it is tasty.
Adds to the flavor, makes it full circle.
Alright, so we're going to be using a 8x8 Pyrex glass baking sheet.
Pretty standard.
Dish. Pretty standard.
A must-have for sure.
A must-have, especially for brownies, right? So we're going to just do a little plop.
See where her head's at.
Down, and just kind of get just enough to have it on the bottom of the pan. You don't need a lot. If you have a lot of sauce, you can use more. Because ours is so thick, we actually need even less. So we got that all spread out evenly on the bottom of the pan. And so we're going to move on. So this casserole works in the layered process. Think of lasagna or enchiladas, things you would layer. So we got the first layer down, it's the sauce. Second layer, Pete, what do we got?
Okay, here we go. So second layer is we're going to do zucchini. And we have some yellow summer squash here.
You could do squash or zucchini.
Squash or zucchini. Zucchini is squash. You can use it, we were just talking about this the other night. A lot of times people use it interchangeably.
Yep.
So zucchini, summer squash, it's all the same. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got our food processor with the slicing attachment, not the grating attachment. And I'm just going to make sure this thing's fasten down here. Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. So we're just gonna fire this up, and then we're just gonna feed them through. Okay, so we have our, it's quick, it's fast.
I love it.
And because it was just zucchini in here, this is just kind of like a light rinse or a heavy rinse. You know, you probably don't even have to use soap when you're cleaning this thing.
It's not very gunky, which is nice.
Yeah. Okay, so a stack for you. So this activity is really good for kids if you have kids. So
yeah, everybody can participate. It's really easy and it's kind of fun too.
it's kind of like a stack of quarters right now.
So next thing we're gonna do is we are going to layer them, and you can layer them however you like.
Do, 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 do. I feel like my side's gonna be like all yellow, and your side's gonna be. Oh no, you get some green in there. We also had a bowl here with some leftovers when we made this last week. Not last week. It was just a couple days ago, wasn't it?
No, it was a few weeks ago, or last week. We also had some leftover from some bread that I made too. Lots of squash and zucchini.
Yeah, a lot of that going on.
Alright. So next we have it layered nice and pretty. There's some zucchini on the bottom, but it looks just like yellow. Alright, and so the next step is another layer, and that's going to be the quinoa. And if you have leftover quinoa, this recipe is great for that. If you don't, just whip up a batch. I've been doing this new thing where with the quinoa while it's cooking, I'll add like vegetables and such. So we froze a bunch of tomatoes that we got from our CSA, just chopped them up and put them in a Ziploc and put them in the freezer. And so I've been just like grabbing a chunk of the tomatoes, throwing those in, and then throwing in some of that Mexican spice. And so then you get this like, kind of like, you know those packets of like rice-a-roni or something? It's like that, but homemade, so way healthier.
Yeah, it's definitely a good use for them. All that excess that you have right now goes. You just put it in the freezer, and we're getting into fall, people. Okay, so great way to use stuff is to put it in soups. Frozen vegetables, just put them in your soups.
We're gonna have a lot of soup recipes coming your guys' way. All right, so
this layers pretty well.
Yep.
It looks like just scoop, plop, smush it down.
Yeah, this is another one that kids can help with too. Like it's super easy.
You want to just like help with it?
You can do the beans next. The beans are a little bit more tricky. You have to be a little bit careful spreading so it doesn't get the quinoa. So that's the next thing. The next thing is refried beans. And we didn't cook the beans or anything. They're just straight from the can. And you're just going to layer them on top of the quinoa.
Woo.
And I suggest dropping it and then patting it. Not trying to spread too much.
Like that.
Yep, perfect. You can
add it down.
Is that pretty easy to use? The spatula?
This thing, yeah. It's not bad.
I like the spatula for spreading. I just wasn't sure like scooping with it.
So these are refried beans that are like totally fat free, which means they don't have oil added to them. If you have ones if you get beans that have oil, it probably wouldn't get stuck to your spatula like this.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
But I would still go for the oilless because you don't really need that.
Yeah, you definitely don't need the oil in the beans.
But if you have them, then, and sometimes that's all you have, you're kind of at what the store has, the mercy of the store.
Totally. Alright, so Pete's doing that, and with this one, you're going to want to use half of the can of beans for this layer, because you're going to do another thin layer on top.
I'm kind of ahead here. We better get this list a little bit thinner here.
It's okay. I mean, no one will really ever know.
Nobody will really know.
And it's all going in the same place, so it doesn't really matter that much.
Perfect.
That looks great, Pete. Good job.
Gold star.
Gold star for Peter.
Gold star. Can we see the layers here?
We do this a lot when we're cooking gold stars. Okay, so we're going to do another layer. So we're going to get the sauce, right? Spread that out. A little bit more. You want to not use all the sauce because you're going to want a layer of sauce for the very top. So we got our sauce down, and now what are we doing next? More zucchini.
Let's do more zucchini.
Alright.
This looks kind of dried out.
It's not too bad because when you're going to cook it, it's going to heat up anyways, so it's
going to dry out
it's going to be
anyways.
really, yeah, it's going to be great. I really like this because the squash takes the place of like corn tortillas, and I feel like a lot of times I eat too much corn just with tacos and tortilla chips, and then also it could take the place as for like noodles, and sometimes I feel like I eat a lot of noodles, so it's nice to have the fiber. And so now that we have that done, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the sauce on top, and we like to add a little cilantro. So Peter's going to cut up some cilantro. And you could,
yes, he is.
You could put onion on top, or you could put like green onion, really whatever you like.
Whatever you have, whatever you like. Okay.
Alright. So just put...
You tell me when you're ready.
Just do a little sprinkle. And we'll... perfect. That's great, Pete. That's perfect.
Okay. Enough.
Enough already. So now we're going to go and put this in the oven for 20 minutes. And we will show you guys what it looks like. Okay, after 20 minutes in the oven, it is done. And it smells great.
So you should make this recipe. And here's why. It's easy. There's not a whole lot of chopping, as you can see, with using the food processor. And it's a great recipe for using leftover things like rice or quinoa.
Yes, definitely. Another reason you should make this is because it makes great use of your zucchini or yellow squash you have lying around. Sometimes those things are extremely hard to get rid of. This recipe, they blend so nicely you can't even taste them.
And finally, it's amazing, especially for how simple it is. There isn't a whole lot of ingredients, but the flavor is out of this world. So, thanks for joining us.
Now go get cooking.